The RTX 4080 12GB is a fantastic graphics card, but it's not named right. Having two GPUs with the 4080 designation is confusing, so we're pressing the quote unlaunch button on the 4080 12GB. The RTX 4080 16GB is amazing and on track to delight gamers everywhere on November 16th. The lines around the block and enthusiasm for the 4090 is any indication, the reception of the 4080 will be awesome. Okay, yeah, this is PR speak. I'm gonna go ahead and translate this for you guys so, us simpletons can understand. The RTX 4080 12GB received a lot of shit for being called a 4080. Having two GPUs with the 4080 designation was a stupid and selfish money grab that never should have happened in the first place. So we're pressing the quote we f***ed up button on the 4080 12GB. The 4080 16GB is still an overpriced card, but at least there's only one of them this time, available November 16th. If the lines around the block still exist for the 4090 despite its mammoth price tag, the reception for the 4080 should still please our shareholders. Nobody should be surprised by this. I mean, maybe the fact that Nvidia actually admitted that they totally screwed this up. I mean, can you really give them credit though after insurmountable tech media, tech press pressure? I mean, everyone knew this was bogus. Everyone knew that the 4080 12GB was supposed to be a 4070, or at the very least a 4070 Ti. It did not deserve the 80 naming scheme, and folks saw this as just validation for a higher price. So no, I'm not going to praise them for this. I mean, the 4080 12GB was cut down in every conceivable way almost from a traditional 80 series card. If you're using the 4080 16GB as a reference point, right? The difference just in CUDA core count alone between the 16GB and the 12GB variant was a huge red flag. And this was what led almost every one of us to announce the 4080 12GB was just a rebranded 70 series card. And what I expect NVIDIA's going to do now is probably wait. I mean, what they're doing here is hoping that as many folks as possible buy the higher end cards. They're the harder cards to sell because they are priced at higher price points. And so they're going to use the holiday season as a means to maybe push a few more consumers that direction so they can get those higher end sales out of the way before they push out the cheaper stuff. Traditionally, the 70 series cards announced at the same time as the 80 series card, but obviously after a blunder like this, you have to totally redo it from the ground up. Now, what I'm really curious about is whether or not Nvidia will alter the price of this supposed 4070 going forward. $899 is freaking steep for a 70 series card, period. But if they change this, let's say they lower it to $799, that I think is worth a little bit of recognition on behalf of Team Green. Yes, the price is still garbage. I'm not defending these prices by any means, but at least it's not $899. And they very well could do that. They could just change the name of the card, change the marketing a bit, and keep the price exactly the same. The performance will be exactly the same, save driver differences by the time that card's released. So I would like to see maybe $799. That's just a small little ask from Nvidia here at this point, but you already screwed us once, so make it right. Drop the price. That's what we're hoping for. I mean, how do you look at a chart like this from videocards.com and think, yeah, this makes sense. The canceled card was definitely a 4080. It strayed so far off the path from the actual genuine 4080 16GB, and look, it's literally half of a 4090. It's got virtually half the SMs and CUDA cores. The boost clock's about the same, but it's got half the memory. It's got half the memory bus. It's got the same memory speed, but the bandwidth has been cut in half. Default TGP, 285 watts versus 450, and that's not even in the same ballpark. If that tells you anything about how performance scales, I mean, this card is on a different planet. And then the MSRP, coincidentally, around half the price of a 4090, but if the 4090 is our goalpost, I mean, we move that so far in one direction from Ampere. So before you go out there and praise Nvidia for doing what they should have done in the first place under, again, insurmountable media pressure, we need to look at the price of this SKU when it's actually announced officially again in the future, because $899 ain't gonna cut it anymore. Like I said, I think $799 is a pretty shallow ask. You can't really. You can make it like, I don't know, $849, but that's to folks. It's still going to start with a number 8. It's not going to look good enough. I think the way that they actually save face here is by making this a $799 card. Now that's still, again, very overpriced, but that's what I'm looking for. If they actually release this card again with a different name and the exact same price, that's just super scummy, I think. You've already put your cards out on the table. You can't pull them back, swap a card in, and act like you have the same hand. We know what you've done. We see exactly what you wanted to do in the first place, and the fact that you've been called out on it doesn't mean that you can keep the price the same, in my book. So I'm hoping for a slightly lower price. That would be nice to see. With that, let me know what you think about this announcement from Nvidia. I don't know why my nose is getting super stuffy all of a sudden, but yeah, I need to stop deep cleaning computers in my office. That's the key. Eventually, I'll pick up on that. Anyway, yeah, leave a comment down below. Consider subscribing, liking the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See, a nice and short one for a change. My name is Greg. Thanks for learning with me.